Welcome to all of you people out there in election land sitting on pins and needles as this election is it is a close contest, isn't it? Adam, our fellow Democrat and team member, we got point counterpoint here today, maybe because we've got both sides of the political aisle represented. Adam, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I didn't pay a ton of attention last night, so I'm doing well.
Well, that was a good discipline not to pay too much attention to the election last night because, heck, I had a feeling we wouldn't know anything. And you know what? I have a feeling we're not going to know anything for a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks if the Supreme Court gets involved. But we'll see what happens as the Democrats try to steal the election. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I was talking with Naresh Monday, I think, and we were discussing the election, and he was saying Naresh is another investment counsel for those who don't know, and he was saying he's not sure if he'll see another Republican win the popular vote for the rest of his life, and it's quite possible.
Well, I think if it does turn out that Biden wins and they give amnesty to, 12 to 15 million current illegals, or as Hillary Clinton says, workers without papers, you got to love that one, then that will lock in a Democrat vote pretty much for many, many years to come. So I am hoping that does not happen because I think that would be extremely unfair. But hey, we have what we have. That's the world we live in. So let's dive into it today. Of course, income property is the ideal asset class because it provides income depreciation. And of course, we mean depreciation in a good way as a tax benefit. It's a wonderful thing. The best tax benefit of all is depreciation. And equity growth, that's obviously good. And appreciation, that's obviously good. And leverage, meaning you can do more with less. So let's go ahead and jump into our talk today as we're going to talk about bubbles and so forth. But of course, visit our website for privacy policy disclaimers and all that good stuff. Reach out to us, jasonhartman.com. Or if you're in the United States, you can always call us on the good old fashioned telephone at 1-800-HARTMAN, but that's a US only number. All right. So Adam has prepared some good stuff for us. But before we get into investing content and talk about income property, the most historically proven asset class in the world, at the time of this recording, Biden is in the lead. Adam, what say you? I am really surprised to see Arizona go to Biden. That just kind of surprised me, actually. I didn't think that would happen.
Oh, I have to give it up. My tinfoil hat just made a comment on our presentation,
Bring in
asking
the comments,
if
folks.
did Kanye win. My tinfoil hat. Thank you for making me laugh this morning. I appreciate it.
Kanye did not win. No, Kanye, I don't think is going to win, at least not this time around.
Give him 4 years. Who knows then? It's yeah. I knew it wasn't going to be the landslide that all the pollsters were predicting. I actually posted, I think the polling business might go out of business after this election because they've been shown to be they've been shown to be pretty useless the last two elections.
Yeah, and pretty biased, I think. Polls actually are they create a self-fulfilling prophecy issue. And just want to remind everybody about self-fulfilling prophecy. One of my favorite quotes comes from the old sleepy California senator, S.I. Hayakawa, the late, I should say, but he was kind of this sleepy guy. But he wrote a book on self-fulfilling prophecy, which is pretty interesting. And he said something very telling. He said, the self-fulfilling prophecy is something that is neither true nor false, but it is capable of becoming true if it is believed. And that speaks to the idea of political polls because they do influence elections. If the pollsters say this or that, it'll keep people at home. They'll stay home. They won't bother to vote. Or it will make people just give up and say, Biden won or whatever, right? And so the polls really do bias people, and I think they should be, not allowed, maybe for a week before an election or something like that. But the problem you had this time is you had all this mail-in ballots, and I'm sure there's just massive voter fraud. And I'm not saying that in a partisan way. I'm just saying that's just a fact. What do you think about that, Adam? Do you think I'm being paranoid when I say that?
Yes, I do. I think they've shown that there's the number of instances of of ballot fraud in general is very low, like very, very low.
Okay, so let's just slice that up for a moment. Would you agree? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on this as our fellow Democrat represent. Okay, so would you agree that most postal workers would be Democrats?
I would say you have a decent likelihood that the people at the desk and sorting your mail are Democrats. Yes.
What about the people picking up and delivering the mail? The carriers?
Probably.
Okay. So you agree that most postal workers are probably Democrats, okay? And do those postal workers know which districts are likely to lean Republican or Democrat based on their route? Do you think they know that?
One would assume that they have a general idea.
Yeah, so general ideas if they're in an upper middle class area or a middle class area, or now with Trump, a sort of as a populist president, a working class sort of blue collar area, which Trump obviously appeals to that vote quite a bit. Um, they know what area they're in, right? And the ballot is in the package. You can see it's a ballot, right? They don't have to open it to know what it is, right? So you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the mail carrier, if they're in a largely Republican district, they could just see ballots and decide to lose them.
They could, except most states have a way to track your ballot.
Well, tell us about that.
I mean, you can literally, in a lot of states, go online and see if your ballot made it and if it's been counted. Or you can do a text alert.
Okay, so first of all, I didn't know that. I didn't vote by mail, so I didn't use that system.
Our president did.
Okay. Who did?
Trump. He votes by mail.
No, I thought Trump went to the polls. Melania did, I know.
Melania did.
Morning.
No,
I thought Trump went to the polls as well.
No, he votes absentee all the time. He may have gone this time, but the last election he mailed in his absentee ballot.
Interesting. Okay, so you can track whether your ballot was received or not. I did not know that.
I don't know if you can in every single state, but I know in a lot of states you can.
Okay, but someone has to do that. And, they have to take an active role and do that and, see if the ballot got there and was counted. But
you could say the same things about voting machines, though. You're putting your vote in, and who knows what's happening when the bits and bytes start happening.
Fair enough, but that's a lot more complicated fraud to orchestrate. You got to be a tech person and be able to hack the system or run the system. And by the way, just so you know, listeners, I did a couple of episodes on that many years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, on the electronic voting machines and the possible fraud there on my holistic survival show. Maybe played those on the Creating Wealth show years ago. I can't remember, but look in the back catalog for my old shows and you can learn about that stuff. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, I think it's pretty easy, or at the postal carrier level and the postal sorter level, for them to influence the election with these mail-in ballots. I just think it's really scary. I mean, there's more mail-in this time than ever before. Okay, yes, we always had absentee ballots and stuff. I get it, but this time, it's a thing, right? With COVID, it's all changed.
I believe in the goodness of humans, Jason. I don't think they're doing that.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I believe that most people are good.
Well, okay, so I don't know. Most people, some people, a lot of people. I don't know.
I don't think ballots are getting lost magically. I don't think people are getting bags full of ballots and throwing them out. You might find ballots thrown out, but they're going to be ballots of people who received them in the mail and decided not to vote by mail and got rid of it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Folks, what do you think? Comment below and tell us what you think. And also, please tell us where you're located when you're watching here. And
Uh,
we'd love to hear from you.
Michael Gruner, one of my clients, said every precinct in Washington also has ballot boxes if
I
someone doesn't feel comfortable
I
mailing their ballot.
yeah, I know Michael. I was on his podcast a long, long time ago. So good guy, good guy. So I don't think I'm showing the right comment. He must have made
No,
one.
he commented again a little bit below that.
Okay,
So I
so
mean, and every area does have ballot drop boxes. Texas had lawsuits about that this time around because our governor tried to limit it to one per county. So that would mean that all of Houston, 5 million people, had one ballot drop off location.
yeah. Okay,
That
so let me just
that's worse.
yeah, let me just jam through some of these comments here so we don't get too far behind. Oh, landslide, 60,000 votes.
That's
Okay.
Kanye. Kanye got a 60K.
Did he really? Is
I
that
don't know.
Oh, okay. I don't know either. Okay. So, mailing ballots, not a single accusation of voter fraud that I'm aware of. Okay.
Most of the
Um,
voter fraud allegations and lawsuits that have actually happened that they've discovered have been Republicans, for the record.
I'm skeptical about that.
Well,
Again, I haven't researched this issue a lot, but it just seems very logical that, that based on the questions I asked Adam a moment ago, that fraud is really, and this is not a big orchestrated fraud. It's just losing ballots. That's all it is. Just losing ballot. That's just really easy to do. Just super easy to do. Okay. Okay. So the gold color, you mean Chicom Charlie, Washington governor, brought up by the Chinese waiting for a Red Dawn event. I don't know what that means. Adam, if you do, please
I'm
comment.
not sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Ultimate
Cheers.
bargains, if postal carriers decide to lose ballots, then that's a federal felony. I
Yeah,
agree.
so
It's not worth the risk.
good luck good luck finding it. I mean, seriously, do you know the standard by which it is to prosecute somebody for that? It's insane. Okay, like, how are they
But
going to
most
know?
people aren't going to chance it, Jason. They're not going to chance it.
You're kidding me? People commit crimes all day, every day. That's all the time. Okay, so hey, our Sunshine Girl, regular viewer from Australia. Okay, media also lead you to believe things. Adam, why don't you read the questions?
So Sunshine Girl says media also lead you to believe things if they repeat them enough. Don't let them convince you as Americans that you're so divided that you must degenerate into fighting and civil war. Stick together.
I agree
Sunshine Girl,
with
good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Right, but I agree with it. That's good. Okay, what else we got?
My tinfoil hat says I find it odd that they're gonna do digital money, but there's a question about voting. Blockchain.
Yeah, well, the blockchain would be the way to secure it in the future. And you're in Seattle, okay. What's this one?
Sunshine Girl in the land of Oz is drinking coffee at bedtime, so she can pretend she's in the States with us all.
Yeah, yeah. So a little caffeine. Hey, cheers to you. I'm drinking mine. Okay, and hey, you got a fan here, Adam.
There it is. Hey, Ivana says, "Go, Adam! I voted by mail and double checked on her ballot in Miami, so you
Yeah.
could have done it, Jason. Could have
Well,
voted by mail and checked your ballot." And Julian Flash says both sides can assume that mail-in votes were manipulated if they lose in this race.
yeah,
That's the danger.
of course, both sides will say that, but I think one is more susceptible to that fraud, and that's the Republicans.
And Gosling's Nest at Rionic Chalet J, New York says software can solve all the voting problems. A single app on your phone that is secure with validation you can use to vote. This is all BS. What century are we living in?
Well, I do agree with that. It's really amazing how primitive the system
Yeah.
is. It really is. But I would like to see, much more voting if it were more convenient and were done electronically. There could be a lot more voting. Like, we could vote, during the debates, and we could vote for 30 people and weed them out in runoff elections. That's the way it should be done. They do that in some countries, much better system, but we'll see. Hey, Adam, let's talk about the potential of a bubble. There's just not enough to say on the election yet, is there?
Well, you'll have a whole lot more in the coming weeks, I feel.
Yeah, it's like the old saying, TETT, too early to tell. By the way, as many of you know, you regular listeners and viewers, We planned an election coverage this evening at 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern, and I might postpone that because I just don't think we're going to know anything. I think it's just going to be, I can't stand watching the mainstream news media when they're just sitting there speculating. It's just like, it's
Oh,
just
see
like
it.
talk.
Was it maybe CBS had a little map that they were pushing all the things to change the electoral college votes by state and going into each individual county. And I was like, man, I don't want to follow this. But I honestly didn't watch much election coverage last night. I didn't feel there was a point to it.
Yeah. So, folks, just know that we might postpone this evening's event, and we might do it tomorrow. We might just push it back another day. Well, I don't know. It's just, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I don't know yet. Okay, a couple more comments here before we get to the bubble. Pick a bubble, find a pin. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that today.
Kim says, I am so worried about our country's economy. If Biden gets elected, more and more debt is coming.
Yeah. Well, I agree, and I share your concern, Kim. That's very valid. Okay, so let's talk about this in terms of a housing bubble. Everybody, as soon as the COVID thing really hit and that became a significant thing, people were talking about, hey, I can't wait. This bubble's going to pop. Now we're going to have a bubble. I'm going to get my chance again, the chance I didn't take during the Great Recession. And, I'm ready. I'm going to pounce, and I'm going to make all kinds of money buying cheap houses that are distressed. And I've said it before, but I just don't think that's going to be a significant thing this time around. We'll see, but let's talk about it today. Okay, we're going to share some statistics. Adam has prepared some good stuff. I've prepared some good stuff, and let's dive into it. So on my side, I've been giving a presentation that I have not shared with my broader audience about the possibility of a housing bubble. I have given this presentation 2 times to live audiences, and I am going to turn it into a webinar for you. And we'll announce that here soon. Might as well wait till we know who is going to control the executive branch, who's going to control the White House, because it might change my thinking a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, here's the guy with the golf cart and his obnoxious music going by. See, I've got my window open. Oh, the weather in Florida is so beautiful right now, folks. It's perfection. It's perfection, absolute perfection. But back to the housing bubble. So, when you look at a 100-year history, right? And, people look at charts like this and they say, oh my gosh, we must be in a bubble. Look at what housing prices have done. Look at what they've done. And this is the Great Recession. And then it goes back down. Now, this is the housing price index. Okay. That's an index concept. So that's different than housing prices. It is not exactly the same thing. So here's another index, right? So this is the most widely quoted, the Case-Shiller index, which has all sorts of flaws and all kinds of problems. I've busted the myth with this. And I'll just quickly say that 75% of the Case-Shiller index is based on cyclical markets. As you know, I talk about 3 types of markets: linear, cyclical, and hybrid markets. And cyclical markets are more volatile markets. They do not reflect the broader country as a whole. In the country, there are almost 400 MSAs, or metropolitan statistical areas. The Case-Shiller index, the primary index, only profiles 20 cities, all right? And 15 of those 20 cities are cyclical markets that we would never recommend for investment. So you've just got to understand that the weighting of this whole index is misleading. And if you'd like more about that, it takes a long time to explain and discuss it. Check out my podcast, The Creating Wealth Show, where we've gone in depth on that topic and discussed it. But it is what it is. Okay. So this chart is the Case-Shiller index, as faulty as it is. But it is what it is. So it compares the consumer price index, which is also faulty, the CPI, which is a reflection of inflation, Okay. And we've talked about that in detail ad nauseum on the podcast. Um, but if you look at the consumer price index compared to the Case-Shiller housing price index, you can see, here we are at that peak, the sort of 2006 era, and then we see it come down, we see it go back up again, and we see where it is now. So people look at this chart without thinking, without understanding, and they think, oh my gosh, we must be in a bubble again because there's this big departure between the consumer price index and the Case-Shiller housing price index. Well, I'm not sure about that, and you shouldn't be sure about it either. This is very, very misleading, and we're going to show you why today. And before we get into Adam's part of the presentation, I just want to tell you that your rich uncle, Jerome Powell, and my rich uncle and Adam's rich uncle, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, the largest, most influential, most powerful central bank on planet Earth, okay, that is backed by the US government in an unholy alliance, whole different discussion we won't get into, has given Jerome Powell has given all of us a huge gift, and we better take advantage of it. And we're going to share with you why today. Again, we're going to do a webinar on with a lot more detail on what we talk about today, but we're just going to give you a little sample of it today. So, Adam, how do you invest in a bubble? But the first question is, are we in a bubble? Well, maybe you don't want to answer that yet. It's
Oh,
your turn.
so this was put around whenever I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I kind of got the whole, well, of course you think real estate's going well because you're helping people buy real estate. And so it leads into the question of, do we actually think is now actually a good time to buy properties, or are you just putting money into, assets that are way too expensive? So if you go to the next slide, the question you have to ask yourself is, are Jason and I just a bunch of Permabulls? And most of you probably know Permabulls is a permanent bull on the market. In the stock market, you can't be a Permabull. You can't be a Permabear. It'll get you on TV. It won't make you a ton of money in the long run.
I completely agree.
So the most important thing to remember if you're looking at this and coming at this is the fact, as you're looking at the housing bubble, commandment number 5, thou shalt not gamble. Be a prudent, long-term value investor, never a get-rich-quick gambler, speculator, or flipper by investing only in properties that make good financial sense the day you buy them. So when you're looking at, is this a housing bubble? The answer may be yes, there is a national Case-Shiller housing bubble. But the question is my market in a housing bubble?
Right.
And that's going to be something that I want to talk about today.
Okay. And let me pose one much broader issue on top of everything that Adam said and I just said, is that the first question is, does it matter?
Yeah.
Okay. and here's what I mean by that. Most people view the whole real estate market as this one-dimensional asset class, and that is such bad thinking. Okay. It is just faulty thinking. And the reason is that it's not about buy low, sell high. It's not just about appreciation or depreciation. But that's the way most people view it. And that is absolutely silly. It's stupid. It should not be viewed that way. It's a multi-dimensional asset class. And as such, you've got, of course, price, appreciation, depreciation, the value of the property, but you've also got the income from the property, the tax benefits from the property, the opportunity cost related to what happens when you wait. Okay, if you're trying to time the market, it has been proven over and over again that in like any asset class, the market timers never win overall, whether it be stocks, bonds, real estate, even cryptocurrencies, all of this stuff. Okay. Market timing is a fool's errand. Okay. But, with income property, it's the best because you don't depend on the price, the value of the asset, because you've got that income that sustains you through rough times. And when market declines, and there are different routes for market declines in the real estate world. Of course, one is that interest rates might be too high and housing affordability would be really low. Well, what happens when that happens? You have to ask yourself what happens. So when that happens, people don't buy as many houses. So they stay in the rental pool. I mean, you only really have three choices: you can buy, you can rent, or you can be homeless. Okay. Someone at one of my conferences shouted out, "No, you can live with your parents." Okay, fine. Yes, I guess that's a fourth option. But in the broad scheme of things, buy, rent, or be homeless, right? So when the market is, by most people's eyes, not doing well, meaning prices are depressed and everybody thinks, well, it's not a good time to buy, or interest rates are too high, or it's too hard to qualify, or housing affordability is too low, whatever reason is keeping them from buying, the end result of that is they're staying in the rental pool. And if they stay in the rental pool, that puts upward pressure on rental prices. Great. Good for you. Okay, landlords, sit tight, raise the rent. Okay, you won. You won. So good for you, right? So, it's a multidimensional asset class, and all you have to do with the beauty of income property, the most historically proven asset class in the entire world, is just adjust your strategy as times change. That's it. Sometimes you're in a cash flow market, sometimes you're in a capital appreciation market, but you're always in a cash flow market in terms of the cash flow. It hardly ever goes down. That almost never happens. Okay. I mean, I don't want to say never, because it does happen sometimes,
Yeah.
but almost never you got a cash flow market. Sometimes you have an improving cash flow market, though. But you always have a tax benefit market. You always have leverage. You always have all of those ideal, as the acronym, characteristics we put as the first slide in today's presentation. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like Adam says, my commandment number 5, thou shalt not gamble. You want to be a prudent long-term investor, and you buy properties that make sense the day you buy them. Okay, Adam, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, you need to remember that when you buy the asset, you have set a floor. And if you buy an asset that makes sense the day you buy it, then you're currently standing over the floor. So as you're able to raise your rent and raise, the appreciation and all of that, your floor is not changing. Your floor is there, and it just gives you a bigger and bigger drop that you can have before you reach that floor. And it's important to remember, even in bear markets, you can make money in the stock market. People make money in a down market.
Yeah.
You can make money in a down market in real estate as well. You can make money in a bull market. You can make money in a bull market in real estate. You can make money either way. It's like Jason was saying, you just have to adjust your strategy. So that is why you can be a permabull in real estate. You just have to adjust your bullish goals in some ways, or your strategies.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Let's grab a couple more questions and comments. Folks, feel free to post them. Tell us where you're watching from or listening from, and post any questions or comments. Adam, it's all yours.
Julian Flash says politicians act like they are celebrities. News anchors act like they are politicians.
That's true, and it's wrong, but it's a good observation for sure.
Sunshine Girl, are any of you buying real estate? I am. Australia pledged more QE and cut interest rates to 0.1% yesterday. Gift. Yeah, but don't look that gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
My tinfoil hat says vans on sale down by the river.
Hey, by the way, I got to mention something about vans. And Adam, you're a millennial. So, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's like a whole culture of millennials in this country living in vans, traveling around the country, living what they call van life. I mean, I only recently became aware of this. It's absolutely shocking. Many of them have, huge YouTube followings. They talk about how they fixed up their van, how they live in their van, where they go, how they do what's called boondocking, which means not camping at a campsite. So it's, free. They just camp on the street. So when you see vans on streets now, a lot of times there's people sleeping in them. And I don't mean like homeless people. I mean
voluntarily.
millennials who are like digital marketers, usually YouTube influencer types, living in their vans. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, and there's even nowadays, as a homeschooling parent, I can say this, there are people who do what's called road schooling, and they take their family and they drive around and go to different states, different cities, different venues to show their kids kind of all about the United States and the history. And so they'll go to Philadelphia and go see the Liberty Bell and study about that. And
well, they won't go to Philadelphia now because there's riots. And guess what? They better go and show their kids the country and the Liberty Bell and the statues before they all get taken down. They're almost all gone now, thanks to the tolerant, loving, compassionate, accepting Democrats.
All right,
Adam, who do you think the rioters are? I'm just curious, as a Democrat, who's rioting?
Oh, actually, it's both sides.
Oh, God,
okay, you're right. They have arrested people at quote unquote liberal rallies causing trouble who are right-wing extremists.
I don't deny that there's like 3 of them. Okay. I don't deny that there's a few, but by and large, the rioters are Democrats. Okay. There's just no question about that. I mean, do you agree that at least the majority of the rioters are Democrats?
Probably.
Okay. See, Adam's a reasonable guy, folks. That's why I like him so much. I mean, he's a little bit wrong, but he's reasonable.
All right. Okay, so the gold color says Chi-Com, California. The list of sellouts of past and present of our rights, money, and everything else is almost gone thanks to Pelosi equals Plopsy, Newsom, Waters, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Plopsy, I don't know if that's a typo or if that was a derogatory comment. I'm not sure.
I think it's derogatory, but I don't know what it means. I think it's just kind of a funny Pelosi is Plopsy and Gavin nuisance and so forth. Yeah, California is a disaster. I mean, I think even a Democrat would have to admit that, or at least a Democrat living outside of California. Adam, what do you say about California? Do you think it's a disaster?
It needs a lot of help, put it that way, at least.
How'd it get so messed up, Adam?
I don't follow it enough. I have a feeling I know what you want me to say.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not trying to influence.
I genuinely don't know how California has spent their tax money as a state. I haven't followed it nearly enough to know how they've spent their money and how they've ended up where they are.
Hey, by the way, folks, scrolling across the bottom of the screen is our most popular ever webinar on estate planning, asset protection, and tax planning to reduce your tax bill. And hey, in election time, there's a lot of talk about taxes. So you can check out that absolutely free, fantastic educational webinar at jasonhartman.com/protect. That's at the bottom of your screen, scrolling across, jasonhartman.com/protect. That is a brand new webinar. It's about 2 weeks old on that topic. And people have really just loved that webinar. So go check it out, jasonhartman.com/protect.
I can't imagine why talking about California made you think about protecting your assets, Jason.
Yeah, exactly. Or taxes, or taxes. Okay, hey, we'll get back to some questions and comments in a moment. I don't want to break the flow too much. Adam, tell us about this chart.
So this, I will grant you, this is from the Case-Shiller Index because it's just the U.S. as a whole. It's very hard to find U.S. Data packaged together that's not involving Case-Shiller in some way. So I looked at what would happen if you were investing in real estate over the long haul in terms of just everything. Because if you look at since the Great Recession, real estate for the most part has been on an upward trend for the most part. So I looked at what was the peak before the Great Recession, the valley, and where are we now? And by now, I mean relatively recently because some of the numbers can be hard to find everywhere. So I looked at 2008 and I said, where was the absolute peak? And the peak was median home prices, and this is inflation adjusted, were $252,036.85. So that's all you need to know about this chart is in 2008, the peak of median home values is around $252,000.
Now, a lot of people, though, would say that the peak was 2006. Just so you know, there is disagreement on that, but it's fine. I just want to throw that out there.
Let's see. I can go to 06 if you want and see.
Yeah.
But it'll change the calculations. But 06, so 8 before the crash. So this is before the crash. You look in. So now we've got, if you want to go to the next one. Now we have the 2011. I would look for when prices kind of bottomed out. And it was 2011. The median home price in the United States was $195,477, a 22.5% price drop nationwide from 2008 to 2011.
And that's you're taking the inflation adjusted number.
Yes, inflation adjusted
for both of those, right? So it's an apples to apples comparison. Okay.
Yes, it is.
And of course, let's throw the disclaimer out there that the inflation index is highly manipulated and wrong, but it's the official number. So just to keep things consistent, at least it's still apples to apples. Okay. So yeah. And again, Adam's put the URL in here for you to go check out properties on our website, jasonhartman.com/properties.
All right. And now we go to 2017. It was the last year that I could find data across the board without going into like 4 hours of research. So I found this. So the 2017 peak was a median home value of $243,309, which was a 24.5% increase since 2011, but a 3.5% drop since 2008. So even if you bought and held in a cyclical market since 2008, you're down home value wise over that time. So that's if you're just going with the let's throw a dart at a board and see what market I'm buying in. You were likely going to hit something that wasn't great.
And again, we're talking about 75% of this index being cyclical markets that we would never recommend. Okay, so just understand that.
Yeah.
I wish there was a linear market index. We've thought of creating one ourselves, but we just don't have the manpower or the staff to do it. Okay, so it's a lot of work to do that stuff and keep it up. All right.
So then I thought, all right, well, let's look at one of our linear markets. And I picked Indiana because we've been in Indiana for
the longest.
Yeah. And I knew we'd been there in 2008. I knew we were there in 2017. I know we're still there. So I looked and I said, okay, well, in 2008, from 2008 to 2011, there was actually not a 22.5% drop. There was a 2% increase. From 2011 to 2017, there was a 15% increase. Now, if you'll remember, the other chart said, oh, there was a much bigger increase from 2011 to 2017 across the country, median value-wise. But you're starting from the crash. So you're actually performing better in that. And I think I covered that in the next slide, if you want to go to that. Nope, just kidding.
So your big quote. Adam is quoting himself now, which I've been guilty of doing that too.
The quote you all know is from Pete DuPont, who's a lawyer. He's made this quote that you know and love. That's the way it is with entrepreneurial people. You try one thing, it doesn't work, you try another. So I related that to real estate, and I said, when one market stops working, you move to another. And that is how you can be a permabull in real estate.
Yeah.
You invest in one market, and you keep, let's say you've diversified into 3, 4, 5 markets like we recommend, and you keep building your portfolio in those markets while it makes sense. And then maybe one day that market doesn't make sense, and you make your choice. Say, do I sell these properties? Do I hold these properties and buy in a different market? You just adjust your market, adjust your strategy, and you can actually be a real estate permabull and have it make sense.
Yeah. And I personally have done that many times. I have ridden the wave in a certain market, and I've done this in several markets at several times over the years, and have chronicled those on my podcast on the Creating Wealth show, where I'll do a 2-for-1, and I'll like the one I can just remember offhand is I'll take a Charlotte, North Carolina. Bought a property there, and then I wrote it up it was worth about, I think I sold it for about 225,000, bought it for about 150. Don't quote me on these numbers, they're on the podcast, but this is my, roughly numbers. And I sold that property, did a 1031 tax deferred exchange, which, by the way, Joe Biden wants to eliminate. Let's hope he loses.
Even if he wins, he's not going to be able to do it.
Well,
You're not going to push that through a Republican Senate.
yeah, but in 2 years we'll see what happens. Things could change. If Biden wouldn't be able to be president a second term, because I don't think he can make it through his first term with his mental clarity being lost.
With his plan, I don't think he'll even win the nomination again in 4 years.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Like if he won an incumbent. When's the last time an incumbent did not get the nomination from their party? I mean, I know LBJ said he wouldn't accept it. That was way back when.
Well, actually, I take that back. The Democratic Party would probably give him the nomination. He may not get the votes for it, but the Democratic Party would probably give him the nomination.
Or he might not take it. But yeah, if Joe Biden wins, basically expect Kamala Harris to be president. Okay. Which is scary, at least for me. Do you like Kamala better than you like Biden, Adam? Because I know you said you didn't like Biden very much, even though I'm sure you probably voted for him.
So Kamala's a weird animal, not animal. She's a weird personality.
You're going to get some flack for that one.
It's like saying it's a different beast. But so her time in California when she was the district attorney, it was.
You mean putting African Americans in jail?
Yeah, it was terrible. But then she went into politics and has one of the most liberal voting records there. So on the whole, I'm not a fan, but at least I'm more of a fan now than if she were doing this when she was still, being a lawyer in California. Okay. So that's my take on her. I don't know. Yeah, better than Biden, probably, because I think Biden's a worthless political candidate. Yeah. He's a conservative. He's a fiscal conservative.
I don't know about that, but okay. All right. Okay. So did you have another chart you wanted to show, or did I need to go backwards?
No, it was just the general. I think that the 3.5% drop since 2008, even if you think that the rise from 11 to 17 was so great, you're still down on the whole for the last 9 years. You've been holding real estate that's declining in value and probably getting a terrible rent to value when you could have put it in a linear market that's gone up like. Yeah.
And so the point total. Here is, make sure you understand the point I think Adam's trying to make is that we're looking at an index that is 75% weighted to cyclical markets that we don't like, we don't recommend, we've never recommended them, we wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. They just don't make sense. And they have terrible cash flow, and they're landlord unfriendly almost in every case, and they're Democrat controlled in almost every case too. So that's all interesting that those parallels apply to all of them. Okay, so let me show you a few things, folks. So this is now this is just, I just took a couple of slides from this upcoming webinar we're going to do on this. Okay. This is the median sales price of houses in the US. Okay. And this is where we are now. Okay. Well, last quarter. Okay. $313,000 median price. Okay. As of July 24th. All right. There may be a new number out for this now, by the way, but it's close enough for government work, as they say. So now let's look at the interest rate. Okay. 2.87% as of September 17th. And by the way, on these charts, the gray areas are recessions, okay, with 2 or more quarters of flat or declining GDP. That's the definition of a recession. So let me go back and show you the price one again so you can see where the recessions are, all right? You can see, Great Recession here, down a little bit, and up since then, right? And a little bit of ups and downs in there, all right? So then we look at interest rates that have dropped dramatically. Now, here is the thing we've got to consider. We've got to adjust for price of the home. We've got to adjust for the interest rate on the mortgage. And we've got to adjust for What else, Adam, do we have to adjust for?
Sorry, I was
Oh,
reading
okay. He's
all the comments.
distracted reading comments. I will tell you, what else do we have to adjust for? Inflation. Inflation. Because inflation is the insidious hidden tax that destroys the value of our savings, our stocks, our bonds, even our equity in real estate. Because as the dollar goes down in value and buys less, as the purchasing power declines through inflation, it has all sorts of interesting effects on everything. And people very seldom really truly understand it. And interestingly, the IRS doesn't understand it or doesn't want to understand it, because the way inflation is regarded on your tax return can either hurt you dramatically or it can benefit you dramatically, depending on how you play. And I will just say this is a blanket statement: the best asset class, far and away, in an inflationary environment is income producing real estate, income property, the kind of stuff that we help people buy and build portfolios with at jasonhartman.com. Shameless self promotion. Okay, but it's true. You got to know this stuff. So we're going to adjust for house price, inflation, and interest rates. Now, what we are not including in this analysis, by the way, which we should include, but we didn't, and it doesn't make that big a difference. It's a little bit of a difference though, but it even makes it better than what I'm going to show you. But once we adjust for this stuff, most people think we're in a bubble. They think prices have gone up too much. Housing prices now are higher than they were back at the last peak. And look what happened then. There was a great recession and everybody lost money and it was terrible. But when we truly look at the real numbers, not the fake numbers, we see this. Here's what we see. We see that the $313,000 home at 2.99%, which by the way is a little even lower now. Now these are owner occupied numbers, okay? Because those are the ones quoted. There's no good charts for investor or non-owner occupied mortgages, okay? So you're going to pay a little more for non-owner occupied. Your payment is $1,318 a month, $1,319 if we want to round off. But if you consider 2006 the peak, okay, and Adam and I were debating that. Most people say 2006 from what I hear. Then your payment back then was $1,532, okay? And you adjust for inflation. Remember, since then, according to the official stats, you've had 28.9% cumulative inflation. Okay. You're actually saving money on that house today. That house in 14 years, in terms of a mortgage payment, principal and interest mortgage payment, got cheaper by $657.42. Okay. The house is less expensive than it was then on a payment basis. Just understand, almost nobody buys a house based on the price of the house. Almost everybody buys it based on the payment, based on the monthly cost of that house. And the monthly cost in the last 14 years has declined by $657.42. This is what few people understand, because they don't know how to do the math. They don't know how to calculate inflation, and they're not thinking of the interest rates. So you'll hear these people in the media, they'll be on TV, they'll be in magazine articles, newspapers, whatever, they're writing newsletters, and they're just giving you this like stupid amateur analysis of things, where they're just saying house prices are higher now than they were 14 years ago, and we had the Great Recession. Oh my God, there's a bubble. And they don't know what they're talking about. Houses are cheaper now than they were then. Adam, thoughts?
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I look back and see all the deals I could have gotten at the prices I could have gotten them, at the payments I could have gotten them, and kick myself. Wish I'd met you before then.
Yeah. Well, I wish we met sooner too, Adam. That would have been very romantical. Hey, so how many properties do you and your wife own now?
We are going to be closing on 7 through 9 at the beginning of next year.
Congratulations. Plus your own home.
Yes.
And you're in Austin, liberal Austin. Yes, liberal Austin. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so we'll wrap it up. We got a few more questions and comments we'll take, but also another website. We've got a free little mini book at pandemicinvesting.com. Go there, get your free little mini book report, and it'll tell you about some of the commandments that we've modified for the environment in which we live. Just go to pandemicinvesting.com. Once you realize how amazing it is that we actually got that domain name. And you can check that out, totally free, and that's available to you. Okay, Adam, let's grab a couple more questions and comments, and as you read those, I will change the slide to a better slide. So go for it.
Yeah, so Sunshine Girl was talking about when she said that rates were down to 0.1. Somebody asked, wow, you're getting a rate for 0.1%. And she said, no, but you don't pay more than 2+% in the land of Oz. And we have mortgage holidays, Commonwealth Bank pledge, no forced sales until September 21st or September 2021 minimum, and sensible lending rules scrapped from March. $70,000 government grants to, or Aussie dollars, I assume, grants.
We've got a reply from Michael.
And Michael said, I'm sure different rules apply for foreigners. I'm seeing tight restrictions on what foreigners can buy. And I believe she responded with yes.
Yeah, and tinfoil hat says stolen bull. So I don't know exactly what that means.
Probably the bull market says stole the bull.
Right.
And then Sunshine Girl responded with, I wouldn't be buying in Oz if I were a foreigner. Much better value elsewhere. There are restrictions on what kind of real estate you can buy. You need FIRB approval, but that's easy.
Okay.
Ultimate Bargains finds my tinfoil. You made me laugh a couple times today, my tinfoil hat. So adjusting to a tenant that doesn't pay market. That is something that I've talked about with Jason before and on the podcast. It's actually really interesting if you look at on the things when they get bad, when tenants stop paying. The downside to real estate is that when your value goes down, it hurts now. And if you're holding in stocks and all of those things, it still goes down. You're still losing money. You're just not selling yet. But let's say, for example, you have your property, your tenant completely stops paying. You're still putting principal into the property that you can refinance out later. You are losing money on those payments on a month-by-month basis. But if you look at the amount that you're losing on a cash-on-cash basis from what you've put in, it's usually still better than what's happening in the stock market. And that's what I like. That's what I think a lot of people forget about is if your tenants are in a situation where they can't pay rent and you can't evict them and find another tenant, there are other things going on in the economy that are decimating it as well. For the most part, for example, during the pandemic, when our renters were having the most trouble paying their rents, even though that didn't really happen in the linear markets, that was when the stock market was crashing 30-40%. So you were losing maybe 3% a month cash on cash wise for your tenant not paying. But like I said, it just hurts now. And that's the downside to real estate.
But the thing is, you don't really have to notice that. If the property goes down in value, just keep renting it and managing it. You're never
saying if the tenant stops paying.
Right. But tenant stops paying is a fixable problem. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, evict them if there's and I know what you're going to say, oh, there's an eviction moratorium. I've heard it a million times. First of all, this is like largely a non-issue, folks. Okay. But, if there is, then just go into forbearance and don't pay the mortgage. Okay. It's trickle up economics, as I've talked about many times. Okay.
And also another way to hedge that is to own more than one rental property. Mm-hmm. You have that way, even if your cash flow decreases, your other properties are still paying the mortgage for your property that's not cash flowing.
Yeah. Okay. So the gold color, interesting comment on the van life, huh?
Yeah, these people, the van life people, are becoming useless. These single people, sole income, no life skills, nothing to offer others. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally just, this is us doing this fun thing. Don't you wish you were here?
Yeah,
That's all it is.
Instagram influencer is not
Yeah.
a skill set, folks.
Like, oh, I'm doing yoga on the beach this morning at 8 a.m. All right, great.
Big deal.
The gold color says, please, really, Adam, Antifa and all the subgroups, payments made by George Soros.
Adam probably doesn't believe any of that because he's got his head in the sand, but okay.
Antifa is an idea.
Well, it's actually a pretty organized idea too. Okay.
I offered my wife the van life. Nice van. She offered me a divorce. Thank you, my tinfoil hat.
Oh gosh. Okay. So let's see. Here we go. Question from Fran.
So Fran, you ask, what does it take for a first-time investor to buy and manage remotely? Would like to invest in U.S. real estate, but confused about number of properties, investment size, mentality. So when it comes to buying and manage in today's inventory with what we have, you're looking at probably needing around $35,000 to $40,000 to get in.
Well, you can get an inexpensive property you can get in for 25 to 30,000.
You're going to have to wait and find that property at the moment. If you
it's hard to find. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. With the inventory we have right now, most of the properties are in the 150 to low 200s range. So you can get in anywhere from, I mean, our lowest price new construction property you can get in for about 33,000. Managing it remotely, you can either do it yourself, doing the hybrid self-management that Jason has talked about a ton on the podcast, or you can just go straight property management companies. We have management companies in every city that we can recommend you look at.
But I recommend self-management, not for a brand new person, but if once you get a little experience as an investor, if you don't have it already, we can really help you with that.
So. Yeah. In terms of number of properties, you can get up to, I mean, you can get an infinite number if you can qualify for it. But in terms of the government-backed securities, you can get 10 loans.
And what he means is the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, what's called agency loans.
Yeah. Your best rates are going to be there. And they're for your first 10 loans. That includes your primary residence if you own one.
Yeah. And if you're married and your spouse has income and can qualify, they can get 10 as well. So 20 total on the agency loans.
And the mentality is you just have to get out of the mindset of I can't see my property. That's the mentality you need to get out of.
Which guess what? You can't see your stocks either.
Well, I mean, you also think about it, if you own, for example, if I live in Austin and I own a property in far north Austin, how often am I going to go driving by that property?
Never. Yeah.
Maybe once or twice a year at most. I can pay a property manager to send somebody out for $75, which, isn't that much more than paying for the, mileage on the car, according to the federal government. Yeah. And, they go out there and take pictures and look at it and send them back to me. So, I mean, otherwise, are you going to go up to let's say you buy one, even 4 blocks down, you can go and look at the outside. Are you going to go knock on their door every couple months and say, let me inside and let me look at your house?
It's just this is an old-fashioned idea that you need to be near your properties. You've got all the technology and all the infrastructure and resources nowadays to where you don't look at. This is what I've been doing for the past 16, 17 years now. Okay. We've been helping people invest nationwide. So that's what we do. We can help you with it. Bottom line. Okay. We can't talk about all the stuff we do right here or solve all the questions on that, but that's what we do as a business. We've helped thousands of people do it, so we can help you too. Okay, so my tinfoil hat is talking to Fran. 75 units. Okay, so yeah.
I don't know what the 75 units is for, Fran. You can get in. You can start at 1.
Got 75 units, maybe.
What?
I think he's saying he got 75 units. He or she. I don't even know gender.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, but Fran, you can start at 1.
Yeah, start at 1 unit. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I started with 1 unit when I was 20 years old. I got into real estate when I was 19, but my first rental property at age 20.
Yep, okay. Your journey to a rental property portfolio is 1 door.
1 door at a time.
Ramona Griffin thinks they will invoke the 25th Amendment to say he is unfit for president.
That's Joe
I
Biden you're talking
I
about.
don't agree with that. If they thought he was unfit, if they wanted to kick him out, they would have just had coordinated everybody falling out of the race and endorsing somebody else. I
Well,
mean,
but remember, it is
what the
progressive. His dementia is going to get worse as time goes on.
right, but if they didn't want Joe Biden to be president, they wouldn't have orchestrated the whole, hey, everybody drop out right now and endorse Joe Biden so he can beat Bernie Sanders like they did in the primaries. In the Beyond Crypto says, I just saw the stats about a week ago. Median home value is at about 317,000 now. This is a pump period. These guys are very worried. It's time for these prices to drop. Cash flow and rentals or not. So there's a reason I didn't take the most recent median home value of 317,000. I couldn't find any stats for Indiana for 2017 to 2020. I didn't spend 5 hours making this presentation,
Well,
honestly.
my thing said the median home price was
Right.
313.
He was talking about mine when I was comparing Indiana to the US.
Okay.
I couldn't find a good chart for Indiana properties that went up to 2020. I could find a good one that went up to 2017. So I just used 2017 numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we need to cover this one on the podcast.
Right. Okay. Oh, well, maybe we shouldn't even talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, you're adults here. Come on, make your comments adult.
So Robert Hernandez says, after listening to a couple of YouTube business owners, I can tell some people, even though they are successful in a particular business, when it comes to real estate, they have no clue how to use leverage.
You know what? I am so glad you said that. You are absolutely right. Folks, too many times in life, we allow people to influence us by this like transference of expertise. Okay. You know, I have hired, there's this old saying, and I just saw it on my Facebook memories. I was at Ken McElroy's Halloween party a couple of years ago. Ken McElroy is one of the Rich Dad authors with Kiyosaki, and he's an apartment syndicator, has like thousands of units. And Ken, in his garage, he had a Ferrari, and his Ferrari license plate. I posted this on Facebook because I thought it was such a funny license plate. He said, A students work for C students, right? And that just came up on my memories because we just had Halloween a couple days ago, right? And I have hired, and I'm speaking for myself. I was not like a great student unless I was interested in the topic. Then I was an awesome student. But most topics I wasn't that interested in school. I was interested in money and finance stuff mostly. And we trust these people. Like I hire a lot of these A students now, right? Lawyers, accountants, management consultants. I hire them in my business, right? And I'm thinking like these people are way smarter than me academically, right? But when it comes to things like money, investing, they can be completely clueless. And doctors are a great example. They're kind of, and it's not always uh, a fair thing to say, but it's a sort of a generalization. They're notoriously poor business people, but they're good. They're scientists, right? So different minds are good at different things. So yeah, don't allow this transference of authority or knowledge on things. There are certain people are good at certain things and bad at others. So absolutely true. Okay, Adam.
Sunshine Girl says, Fran, I think Jason's team may be able to help you. I'm considering it too. Come on down, fill out a form. You can talk to us. No harm, no foul if you don't like it.
Yep. So. There's our services are free. Okay. So you can talk to investment counselors. We make money when people either buy educational products. We make a little bit of money off that, but mostly off of people building their portfolios. Okay. So
I think this was a typo correction here.
Yeah. Okay.
DM says inflation is pointless. It's counted wrong. Everyone is getting savvy to this. Property taxes are going to kill real estate at this point. DM, my question to you is, where do you think the property taxes go? The property taxes go into the rent. So if property taxes increase, rents are going to increase because you're not going to get a whole city of landlords saying, I guess we'll start losing money. Yeah. They're going to start increasing rents and tenants are going to have to pay it because everybody's going to be doing it.
Every corporation, every business, and that's what real estate is. It's a business, right? They're all pass-through entities. Raise the minimum wage and you raise the expenses on the employers, then they'll just raise the prices to the consumers. raise the property taxes, and the landlords will raise the rent prices. And remember, that's done really pretty much in unison, because property taxes go up in an entire city or state at a time, right? And, this, by the way, is on the California ballot. It looks like it's going to fail, fortunately, at least now, this big property tax increase. But it's your rental properties are pass through entities. You pass that cost through to the tenant. Okay.
And you're also, even if the taxes go up and you lose money for a little bit, not lose money necessarily, but your cash flow gets lower for a little bit, it's going to be made up for when the rents reset to the market value.
Yeah.
So yeah, your income might get hit a little bit now, but it'll get made up for, and you're still getting your depreciation. You're still getting your
own tax benefit.
Yeah, your equity. You're still writing off all the wonderful interest that you're paying. Although at this point, you're not paying that much interest anymore.
Well, you're still getting inflation-induced debt destruction for sure, which more on the podcast on that. Okay, a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so Michael is wondering, after we close on our third property today, excited for you, Michael, happy to help you find that property, or tomorrow we will be running into debt.
I want to say congratulations.
So we will be running into debt to income issues on upcoming purchases. Any recommendations for discussion? One of the biggest things is talking to the lender about using the properties to qualify themselves. Is one thing you can use.
And what he means by that is that the rental income from the properties add to your income, Michael. So they help you qualify. Now, they're not going to take the rental income at 100%. They'll usually take it at 75%. So for every $1,000 you receive in rent, your income is increasing $750. Okay. It gross, of course. Then you take out expenses, just like you take out debt. That's why you get what's called the DTI, the debt to income ratio, that is considered when you qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah. And you can also, if you want, like we were talking about the asset protection, it's possible that your CPA could do something, or Bob, in this case, the lawyer, might be able to help you hide some things or move some things around to make it look better.
Yeah. Well, there's just good tax treatment if you use entities properly. So again, the link is below. Check out that free webinar, jasonhartman.com/protect, jasonhartman.com/protect. And you'll learn a lot from that. So good question. Thanks, Michael. And congratulations.
So Centric says, what are your thoughts about the Great Reset that the IMF keeps spewing, and articles about people owning nothing by 2030, how happy they are? Feels like the communist agenda is starting.
There is certainly a push for this and an agenda, and it's a huge topic. And, I have not had time to cover that a lot on the podcast. I've done a little bit on the YouTube channel about that. And thank you for the reminder, because I've been wanting to cover this issue, but, we've had all this stuff going on, election, pandemic, blah. It's just, there's only so much programming time available. Okay. So we will get to that topic. It's a very good question. And there are definite concerns and strategies. Whoops.
Kevin says, Adam, don't forget to research and discuss HELOC strategy to pay off mortgage and/or HELOC to invest property. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I did have a question about using the HELOC to pay off the mortgage asked me, and I wasn't 100% sure what your thoughts were on that, Jason.
Well, using a HELOC on maybe your own personal residence, a home equity line of credit,
yeah,
buy a property free and clear. Is that what you're asking?
I believe so, but to me, it seems like you would just do a cash out refi in this environment.
Yes. Well, the cash out refi is probably the better deal, because it's a 3-decade-long fixed rate loan at, historically low rates. But, everything is worth looking at, right? I don't know, what HELOC terms you're being offered, but by and large, Adam is absolutely right. That usually the cash out refi is going to be the better strategy most of the time. Yeah, I agree.
DN says, think you missed my point. They are not increasing wages anywhere near the cost of property tax. They're using inflation. Example, $2,500 in tax went to $6,000 in 4 years. 2% wage increase won't help.
Yeah. Well, I'm DM. That is not the case, and here's why. Let me tell you why. This I've heard this type of thinking, and on its face, it makes sense, and I see why you're asking the question. So I appreciate the comment, not question. Okay, but here's the flaw in this kind of argument. Okay, um, the people tend to think of this as like this fixed thing. Okay, if my, take my sound effect machine, right? This is a house. Your tenant rents this house, okay? And they rent this house and it's $1,500 a month. And say the property taxes go up and before you had $200 a month positive cash flow on this house, but now the property taxes went up, so you have zero positive cash flow in the house. It's only a break even. And you're thinking, like, this deal isn't so great. Yes, there are other ways you earn your return. But the thing you're thinking is that this tenant renting this house is this fixed thing. And it's not. What happens is this tenant has to either take on a roommate to defray their expenses, or not buy a new car to defray their expenses, or they have to move down to a lesser house. Okay. And then you get another tenant moving down the socioeconomic ladder into your house. Okay. At the new higher price where you've increased the rent to offset your expenses. So it's like two ladders. Okay. You've got tenants moving up and down the socioeconomic ladder. You've got properties that are on certain places on the socioeconomic ladder, and they will reposition in times of economic change. So it's not like you have this fixed tenant in this fixed house, and that tenant doesn't have fixed expenses. If right now they're living in your house and they're paying you $1,500 a month and their wages don't increase, well, then maybe they have to give up that nice car, or give up private school for the kids, or give up some vacations, or shop at a cheaper grocery store instead of shopping at Whole Foods, whole paycheck. Okay, like, these things are all adjustable. They're not a fixed thing. Or maybe they just have to say, look, I can't afford the house anymore, I'm going to move, and you got to get another tenant who can afford it. Okay, it's Adam, any thoughts on that?
No, it's like you said, in real estate that you can renegotiate the deal at any time, and that includes with tenants.
Yeah, good stuff.
And Kim M says, thank you guys, as always, lots of great information. Have a great day, all.
Okay. Well, with that, we will wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us. Go to jasonhartman.com, check out more. Go to pandemicinvesting.com to get that free mini book. And of course, check out the estate planning, tax reducing, and asset protecting webinar at jasonhartman.com/protect. Adam, thank you so much. And folks, I just want to say, I am not sure we are going to do an election live stream this evening. So stay tuned. We'll see how the day goes. We'll decide this afternoon. If we don't do it today, we'll probably kick it to tomorrow or even Friday. These are crazy.
Maybe we'll have the lawsuits in. Who knows?
Yeah, we got to let the lawsuits get filed and see what happens here. We just want to have something more complete to talk about. So that's our only goal. So make sure on YouTube you turn on that bell notification, so you get notified when we go live on an impromptu basis. And a lot of you I know have done that, because instantly when we're going live, you're all joining us. So thanks for doing that. And the rest of you, turn on the notification bell as well as subscribe. And we love your likes too and your comments. So keep those coming. All right, everybody, happy investing. And let's see what happens with the election. And thanks again, folks. And Sunshine Girl got one more comment in. Oh, thank you for joining us. And we will see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.